Hello, lovely people. Welcome to Vap Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. In this video, we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful flared wrap gown with flared sleeves, and it also has belts at the back, and the belt is what I'm touching. You can use this belt to form a nice bow that will sit nicely at the back. This project is beginner friendly, very simple to make, and very easy to understand. I hope this is something you would like to learn. Kindly sit tight while we get right into the video. And if this is your first time on my channel, make sure to subscribe and also put on your notification bell so you get notified once I post a new video. Thank you, and let's get started. I'll be making use of this Ankara print for this project, and I have 6 yards of this Ankara. And then I also have my basic bodice pattern. This is a half scale basic bodice pattern. That's from shoulder to half length. So here we have the shoulder line, and then you can see that we have the shoulder slant. And then this is the back neckline, and this is also the front neckline. Then I have the front armhole, the back armhole. This is our chest line where the armhole line stops. And then we have the bust line. So you can see that my bust dart is stopping 1 inch away from the nipple to nipple point. So this is the bust dart and this is the waist dart. And then this is the waistline. So here I have my sewing allowance. I added a sewing allowance of 2 inches. So I'm just going to label this place allowance. So this is our sewing allowance. So this is where our actual measurement stops. So this pattern, I cut it in full, that's both sides of the front, because we're going to adapt it into our wrap. So that is why you need to cut a full pattern, both left and right. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut the back neckline and the back armhole. This is actually our back pattern. So I'm going to place this on the Ankara fabric and cut out exactly this unfold, and then I'll show us how to adapt it to have the wrap in front. Ahead to cut out the back pattern. So you can see I cut on the back neckline and I cut on the back armhole. So I still have the front that will have to go in more, and then the front neckline. So now this is it. Remember that we have our bust dart here and we don't have bust at the back. So we don't have a bust dart. I'm going to be taking away the difference between the front and the back, which is this bust dart, from the back piece. That's from the main fabric. So and here the dart is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to be subtracting that 1.5 inches from the back length. And to do that, the half length, I didn't add half inch for joining the half length. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take away 1 inch. So the remaining half inch will be for joining the flare to the down part. So I'm going to mark my 1 inch. So this is 1 inch here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out this 1 inch. So you can see that the back length now is shorter. So it's actually shorter than the front. So the difference is 1 inch. So half inch will be for joining the flare. So I'm now going to have my 1.5 inches difference. On that, I'll go ahead now and cut the front neckline and then the back neckline and the front armhole rather. Then we'll cut out the front armhole. So as you can see, we now have our front pattern. We now have the front neckline and also the front armhole. And you can see our darts here, which is the nipple to nipple. Okay, so now we're going to adapt it into the wrap top. That's the wrap. So now the first thing I'm going to do, I'll come down from the neck depth here. I'll be coming down by 3 inches. Be coming down by 3 inches. I already used, okay, I'll come down by 3.5. So here is my 3.5. So here at the side, because we're going to have a rope that we'll use to tie this wrap dress at the back. So at the side here, I will come up by 2.5 inches. So I'll mark my 2.5 inches. So you can see where I'm marking it. I'm marking it away from the sewing allowance. So I'm going to connect this point now and this point and then to this point. So I'll bring in my curved ruler and do that. So I'm going to place it like this from here, from here to here, and then from here to here. Can you see that? So this is it. So now this is because we don't need the sewing allowance on this side. We only need the part that we're going to tie our rope. So we need the sewing allowance on one side. So now we'll go ahead and cut it out. So I'll first cut out my sewing allowance from here because we don't need it. And then I'll come to this side and cut like this. So can you see what we have here? This is what we have for one side of our wrap. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're going to close this waist dart because we'll stitch our dart on this side that is full, and then on the other side of the wrap we'll also stitch the other dart. We're going to be closing this waist dart. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold it like this. So by doing that, can you see it's helping to eliminate some excess around here. So I'm just going to close it this way like this, and then I'll bring in my masking tape and tape it down. So you can see. So I'm going to go ahead now and blend it. You can see that this side is longer now. So I'm just going to go ahead and blend it like this. So this is what we have. And then we'll cut out this part. You can see that after closing the bust dart, there's an excess I have, the waist dart, there's an excess I have here. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim it out a little so that it is straight around this side. Okay, and then here at the shoulder, because this is a slanted line, it has a possibility of becoming longer. Can you see what is happening here? So I'll come here to the shoulder line, and then I'll come down by half of an inch or 3/4 of an inch depending on the size you are working with. So I'll come down by half of an inch here, and then I'll blend it into the shoulder line like this. Can you see what I'm doing? And then I'll blend it into the shoulder line like this. So now instead of having the regular shoulder slant, you can see now that this shoulder is going to be straight. This is just to eliminate any excess around this side. So you can see what we have here. So now I'm going to place this on my fabric and cut out exactly what I have here. I'm going to cut out 2 pieces and I'll show us the next thing to do. So I've cut my front pieces and I have 2 of them. And see, this is what I did. Remember, I've added my side seam allowance. So all I needed to do now is to add half inch here that I'll be using for joining the shoulder, and then half inch for turning this side, and then half inch for joining the the upper part to the flare. So that's it. So you can see that I have 2 pieces of this. So this is how my wrap is going to overlap on top of each other. Okay, this is what I'm going to have. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to fold it, place the right side facing right side, and notch the points where my darts will be. So here, this is where the waist dart is. So I'm just going to notch this point. So you can see I'm notching at the middle here. And then I'm also going to notch where the bust dart will be. So you can see this is our bust dart here, and the bust dart is 1.5. So that's 3/4, 3/4, right? So I'll just get the midpoint and notch it. So I'll notch it. And then I'm going to mark the point where this bust that stops. So you want to just make sure that you place your pattern well. So I want to make sure that I have my half inch here for joining the waistline. So I'll pin this point and also pin this point like this. So this is where the dart for the bust to stop. That's 1 inch away from the nipple to nipple point. So this is it here. So I'm just going to use my pin to hold down that point. Can you see? I'll use my pin to hold down that point. So you can see that the pin has come out from here. So I'm just going to mark here. So I'll mark it, and then I'll repeat the same thing on this side. So the point where my pin came out from, I'm going to also mark it. And you see this where the bus that will stop. Okay, so I'll bring out my pin now, and then also come here and hold this part down. This is the waist dart now. Can you see? This is where the waist dart is going to stop. So I'll lift it up also and mark this point. I'm just going to use my pencil. This will be clearer. Can you see? I'm marking this point, and I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. So that's it. So next I'm going to go ahead now and measure the length of the dart. This is from waistline. So from waistline to 5.5 is where the the waist dart stops. And then here also from the side here to 6.5 is where the bust dart stops. So let me lift it up and mark where the bust dart is very well, and then also mark it very well here. So now I can now go ahead and take up my pattern paper. So I'm going to connect my darts from here to here, and then I'll mark half inch on both sides. Remember that the waist dart is 1 inch, so I'll mark my half inch on both sides. This is the waist dart for the front. Okay, I'm going to repeat the same thing on this side. Remember that this is the center, and we have the difference. That's the bust that is 1.5. So that means one side is 3/4 of an inch, the other side is 3/4 of an inch. So from this center here, I'm going to mark 3/4 of an inch, and then I'll also mark 3/4 of an inch. So this is 1.5, and this is where it ends, right? So I'm just going to connect it like this. Let me use my chalk this time. You can see. So can you see? So and this is also my waist dart. Let me use my chalk to mark it. So you can see 5.5 inches from the waistline, 6.5 inches from the side. So these are our bust dart. So I'm going to be stitching it like this. I'll stitch the bust dart and zero rise here. I stitch the waist dart and zero rise here. So exactly what I have done on this side is what I'll repeat on the other side. Now we have our front, two front pieces, and then we also have our back piece. So we want to calculate the width of the flare we're going to be sewing to the waistline here. So we have two front pieces. I'm going to measure what I have here. I have 20 inches. This is the width I have here. And of course I have the same thing on this one because they are equal. We're going to be sewing our dart of 1 inch here. So by the time we sew our dart of 1 inch, we're going to be left with 19 inches. Remember that we added the sewing allowance of 2 inches to the side. These 2 inches, I won't be sewing on all the 2 inches. I'll be sewing on 1 inch. Then half 1 inch will be for ease. I have 2 inches sewing allowance. I'm going to sew on 1 inch, and then the other 1 inch will be on ease and will be for ease. So automatically what this means is that 1 inch is our seam allowance, 1 inch is for that. And then I'll also use half inch to turn my lining here at this point. So that's a total of 2.5. So from these 20 inches I have here, I'm going to subtract 2.5 from it. and I'll be left with 17.5. So that means I have two 17.5 because I'll have it also on this side. So 17.5 plus 17.5, that will give us 35 inches. So now also for the back piece, I'm going to measure what I have here, and I have 24 inches. So 24 inches, we're going to sew our dart here on the right side and then also on the left side. That's 1 inch dart. And that will leave us with, that means we're going to sew a dart of 2 inches, 1 inch on this side, 1 inch on this side. So that will leave us with 22 inches. So 22 inches. I also added sewing allowance of 2 inches, sewing allowance of 2 inches on this side. I'll be stitching on 1 inch on this side, 1 inch on this side. The remaining 1 inch will be for ease. So that means that I'm going to subtract 2 inches, which is for my sewing allowance. So that means that by the time we subtract 2 inches from that, I'll be left with 20 inches. So the back is going to give me 20 inches, while the two front pieces will give us 35 inches. So we're going to add 35 plus 20, and that will give us 55 inches. So meaning that the waist circumference we are working with is 55 inches for this wrap gown. So I'm going to write down my 55 inches. So 55 inches divided by 3.14, because we're going to be making a 180 flare, and this 180 flare is going to be a high-low flare. So we'll go ahead now and divide this 55 by 3.14, and that will give us 17.5. So 17.5. So the front length of our flare is going to be, that's from our half length. Remember that the half length I used was 16.5 inches. So her front length is 41 inches. So 41 minus 16.5. So that will now be the length of the front flare. So I'm going to subtract 16.5 from this 41 inches, and that will give me 24.5. So the back length is 47 inches. So 47 minus 16.5, that will give me 30.5 inches. So meaning that the back length of the flare is going to be 30.5 inches, the front length will be 24.5. And I'll be adding 1 inch to all these measurements because we need half inch for hemming it at the down part and then half inch for joining to the waistline. So that means the back length is now going to be 31.5, while the front length is going to be 25.5. So now we'll go ahead now and fold our fabric. So to determine the amount of fabric to fold, I'm going to add this radius. This is our radius of a 180 flare with a waist circumference of 55 inches is 17.5. So I'm going to add this 17.5 plus 25 inches, and also 17.5 plus 31 inches. So this is the bigger one. This is the bigger one. This is the longer one. So I'm going to add 17.5 plus 31.5, so that that will determine the amount of fabric to fold. And that's automatically 49 inches. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead now and measure 49 inches on my wrapper. So this is the Ankara print, and this is the savage of the wrapper. So I'm going to measure 49 inches this way. So this is my 49 inches. I'm going to hold this 49 inches, and then I'll fold over 49 inches underneath it. So that means I have 49 inches in two places now. Okay, so as you can see, I've folded my wrapper and I have my 49 inches on fold in two places. So I have 49 inches on fold in two places. Can you see? So then I'll go ahead now and fold it in a triangle shape. So I'll pick this side like this. This is the folded part. So I'm just going to pick this side to lay over this like this. You can see I'm forming a triangle now. So can you see? So this is our triangle shape now. Okay. So you can see I formed my triangle shape, and this is what we have. So this is where the length stops. So my wrapper is just, this is just the excess part of the wrapper. Maybe I should just go ahead and cut it out so that we'll see where the actual length is stopping. So now you can see that this is what we are actually working with. So the next thing that I'm going to do now is to enter the radius of our flare. So from the apex here, I'm going to mark the radius, which is 17.5. 17.5, 17.5. So I'm just going to connect the points like this. So now the next thing we want to do now is to measure the length of the flare. I'm going to start with the front length first. The front length is 25.5. So I'm going to measure from this part. I'll mark 25.5. So you can see from this radius I have here, I'm marking my 25.5. So 25.5. 25.5 this way. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to connect these points. This is to indicate that this is our front length. So now having marked the front length, I'm going to go ahead and mark the back length. And the back length is 31.5. So from the radius here, I'll go ahead to and mark my 31.5. 31.5. So can you see that? So this is where our front length stops and this is where the back length stops. So now we'll go ahead and cut out the radius first. So you can see that I have my radius now. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut the back length first. Remember that the front is shorter. So I'm going to cut the back length first and then I'll show us how to reduce the length to achieve this front length. Can you see? So now having cut out the back length, I'm just going to open this up now like this. So this is where our marking stops. So this is where the front stops. So I'm just going to blend this to go into this. You can see I'm just going to blend because this side now is the back. This is where the back length is starting from. So how will you know that this is where your back length is starting from? Just fold your fabric like this. Can you see? Now I fold it into two like this. So you can see where this chalk mark stops. So all I need to do now is to just notch this point so that I know where I'm blending it in. So I'll go ahead and open it back again like this. And then this mark I have here, I'm just going to blend it into it like this. You see? So I haven't blended it in. So you can see that as it is, you don't want to just take the 24.5 this way and then this side. You need to blend it. Let everything just be well blended. So you can see I used my free hand to just blend it in. So basically the center front area is where I actually have my 24.5. But you can see it is increasing this way so that it just flows nicely. You don't want to just cut it this way and then this one will come down. That will not give you the shape we are looking for. So I'm just going to cut now from this side. How well blended it is. So there is no roughness or no crooked cutting. Everything just blended in nicely. So let's open it up so that we can see. So this part now is our center back. So I'm just going to open it up so that we can see. So this is what a high-low flare looks like. You can see this is the front part and then you can see the back is going lower. So now the next thing we are going to do now is to fold our fabric into two like this. Remember that we're making a wrap gown. So I'll fold it into two. This part where I have the cervix, the longer part here, is our center back. And you see, this is the center back here. So I'm going to fold to make sure that I get the middle here in front. So can you see? So once I have the middle here in front, I'm going to go ahead and cut this part open. Remember that is a wrap dress, so this will overlap on top of the other. So I'm cutting here in front so that we can have two pieces of this flare. You can see I have it cut through. So I have one side for this. So this is what we're going to do. I'll go ahead and cut my lining. I'm also going to cut a 180 flare sleeve. It's just the same method, but the sleeve is not going to be high-low. So I'll cut it out and then show us the next thing to do. Cut my flare sleeves, and this is what I have. So you can see that it's a half circle. So I made sure that this side that will be under the armhole, I reduced it by the calf's height so that it's not longer than this side, so that it doesn't fall more than the center front side. So this is the side of the sleeve. So and I have two pieces of the sleeve. So I'm just going to hem the down part. I'll weave it first and then I'll fold with half inch and hem it. That's for the sleeve. So I also went ahead to cut the belt we're going to have on the two sides. So the width of my belt at the upper part is 2.5 inches. So that by the time I stitch with half inch, I'll be left with 2 inches. So that 2 inches is what I'm going to sew to the side of the wrap. Can you see? So here, this is what I have here on the wrap. This is one side of our wrap. Let's place it like this. So can you see that by the time I stitch with half inch for the belt, so I'm going to be left with half inch here that I'll be using to turn our wrap. So you want to make sure that it's 1 inch shorter than what we have here so that it sits in between. So that by the time we turn with half inch here and use half inch to stitch it, our belt can sit comfortably in between. And I have two pieces. The down part of the belt or the outer part of the belt is wider than this side. So I decided to make it bigger this way so that it can form a nice tie at the back. So and like I said, I have two pieces. And then I also went ahead to cut my lining for both the upper part and the down part. So this is the front piece. And see I have two pieces of my lining. So this is what I'm going to do. I'll place my lining on the right side of the fabric like this. That the lining will be on the right side like this. And then I'm going to stitch on half inch this way. I'll stitch on half inch this way to turn it. And then I'll also turn this side and sew my darts. I'll bring it out from the armhole. I'll sew my darts. I'll repeat the same thing on this side. I'm going to also place the lining on the right side, turn this side, I stitch this side on half inch and stitch this side so that I can turn it out and then I'll sew my darts, okay? I'll do the same thing. So for the back also, I'm also going to place my lining on the right side like this. So this is the right side of my fabric, and then I'll place my lining this way and then I'll stitch on half inch this way, turn this side also and then turn it out to the right side and then sew my darts using the nipple to nipple measurement. I'll sew my dart. For the back dart is going to stop half inch below the chest line. And then for this flare, you can see I also went ahead to cut the lining. So my lining is just half inch shorter than the main length of the lining. So I'm going to stitch the lining this way. I'm going to join it here at the center back here. That's the longer part is the center back, right? I'm going to stitch it on half inch. And I'll repeat the same thing for the main fabric. I'll stitch on half inch so that I can now place it right side facing right side at the hem and turn it. I don't want it to show this joining at the back. I want to turn everything completely like doing inseam sewing. I'll bring it out from the waistline. So I'll do that and come back and show us. So I've stitched the upper bodies, as you can see, and I've sewn my darts. This is the back dart, and I also did the front dart. I see that I have joined it from the sides here, by the sides here on 1 inch, which is my seam allowance, and then I did the same thing on this side. Let me turn it to the wrong side so that we can see. So you can see I stitched on my 1 inch seam allowance here. You can see my bust dart and the waist dart, and here also I've also stitched my waist dart and the bust dart also. So, and for the belt, you can see that I placed the belt in between the fabric and the lining. You can see how it came out here. So as it is, I still have my half inch we'll be using to join the wrap, that's the flare and the down part. And then this is also what we have here. So remember that we're going to tie this rope at the back. So we're going to tie this rope at the back. So this rope has to pass through one of the sides. So we'll decide which one. We want to tie this wrap to the left. So if we are tying this wrap to the left, that means we are going to open one of the sides. So now this is the left hand side. So we want the rope to come out from the left. That's this one to go to the left this way. So meaning I'm going to open this side. So I'll go up by half of an inch and then open 2 inches. Can you see? Half of an inch is going to be my seam allowance for joining it to the down part. And then 2 inches will be the opening because this belt is 2 inches wide around here. So this is it. So So from the waistline here, I'm going to mark half inch like this, and then I'll measure 2 inches to this point. So I'm going to rip the seam here like this. See, I've opened this. So I'm going to just refortify here and then also refortify this side. So this is so that the rope can come out from here. You see? So the rope will come out from here like this. While this one will now overlap on top of it like this. So you can see that the rope will come out from here like this, while this will go like this. Can you see? And they will all meet at the back. So now the next thing we are going to do now is to bring in our flare. So for this flare, this is what I have. I'm going to, so for the flare, you can see I've also stitched the center back. I stitched the center back. So I now placed it right side of the lining, facing right side of the fabric. You can see how I turned it and everything is looking all neat. So this is to neatly cover up my joining. Can you see? So this is what I have here. Can you see what it looks like? So now this is the waistline. I'll be joining this to the upper bodies. So I'll bring in this flare. Now I'll bring in the upper bodies like this, and then I'll hold it like this and then notch the center. So this is the center back here. I'm going to notch the center back here. And then I'll also pick the flare and then also notch the center back. And you see, I'll hold it into two like this and then notch the center back also. So I will now go ahead and place the right side of the fabric. This is the right side of the upper bodies. So I'm going to place it right side of the upper bodies facing the right side of the flare. So can you see? I'm going to now pin them like this. To my sewing machine and stitch it on half inch on the waistline here. I'll stitch it on half inch. But before I do that, remember this place that I just ripped the seam. I'm going to make sure I fortify that place so that it doesn't lose. And you also fortify after the 2 inches space that you have. Can you see this space? So I'm going to fortify so that my stitch is strengthened. And then I'm going to stitch the waistline, weave the armhole and the sleeve, and then weave the waistline, come back and show us the final outcome. So I'm done joining the waistline, and this is what we have. And you see, I went ahead to weave it, and everything is looking all neat and beautiful. For the sleeves also, I've gone ahead to weave the sides of the sleeve, and this is what I have. So you can see how neat my work is on the inside. So now we're done with this gown. I'm going to wear it on the mannequin so that we can see the outcome. These are opening here. So we'll go to the mannequin and wear it. I've already pressed it. I pressed all my seam lines and everything is neat. So we'll take it to the mannequin now. What the wrap gown looks like. Can you see? So now the next thing we're going to do now. First of all, this place, the one that will go into this opening we have here, that's the one we're going to put inside first. So we're just going to insert it here like this and bring it out from this side. You want to make sure that you arrange it so that it's straight. You don't want to make it rough. So once you bring it out from there, you can see, overlap it like this, and then we'll take it to the back. So you can see this one is here, so this one will come out from here. If you turn the mannequin like this, so we bring it out like this from here. Then we'll go ahead and tie it at the back. Tie it at the back here. And then we'll tie it again like this. So to form a nice bow at the back. So you see? So this is what our bow looks like at the back. Remember that the waist of my mannequin is smaller than the waist of my client. The waist of my mannequin is about 24 inches, while the waist of my client is 32 inches. So that's why I have this pinning here. But this is what it will look like at the back. And this is what it looks like in front. And you see that the front is higher while the back, and see how it just comes lower. So the difference between the front and back is about 7 inches. Can you see that? To wear this, I just decided to wear my mannequin with camis. I want it to come down. So can you see? This is what it looks like in front. So this is what our wrap gown looks like. And then you can see our flesh sleeve. You can see the flesh sleeve on the other side too. Can you see? Everything came out really beautiful. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel. And make sure to put on your notification bell so you get notified once I post a new video. Thank you.